Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to all of you. So we are going to discuss your chapter 9, which is meetings and event. Okay, this is something that I think a PR personnel would enjoy. I was a PR personnel before this. I worked under corporate communication department, and as a corporate employee, I cannot run away from organizing an event. So a PR personnel resonates with meetings and event. So bila kita buat meeting and event ni, it is something yang orang suka because you let audience to participate face to face in real time. So bila orang participate face to face in real time, you are leveraging on this opportunity for you to build networking and also exchanging ideas. And this is very important because you know what? As PR personnel, you need to build your networking. You have to build the way you think by interacting with other people because that will help you to grow to be a better PR personnel. All right. So let's talk about group meeting first. So having a meeting seems to be part of human DNA. Kita tak boleh lari pun from meeting. In fact, I think students pun banyak meeting. Meetings allow people to exchange ideas and thoughts. As PR personnel, we have to ensure that the meeting goes smoothly by focusing on three things: planning, registration, and last but not least, program. Okay, the planning stage is very important before kita organize meeting, alright? The size and the purpose of the meeting will dictate the plan. It's very important for us to prepare for the meeting in advance, especially for group meetings. You have to understand that as PR personnel, you are the so-called the representative of an organization in which you are tasked to organize few meetings. So bila you are tasked to organize meetings, you have to consider the following. The first one is location. If let's say the location is within your organization, it's very important for you to book the meeting room in advance because you know what? Bila kita masuk kat company tu, you will realize that akan ada banyak meeting room. Tapi you have to understand that it is not only your department who will be using the meeting room. Akan ada banyak department lain. So if let's say you know that a group of workers from another organization is coming over to your organization, it's very important for you to book the meeting room in advance, probably a week before the meeting. And the meeting room must be the right size for the expected audience. If let's say yang datang meeting to like 10 packs, you cannot expect the 10 packs to be crammed in like bilik yang kecil. Because sometimes bila the size of the meeting room, trust me, it plays an important role. It cannot be too big, it cannot be too small. So it's your duty to do some research on which room that's suitable for that particular audience. Then we have seating. A variety of seating arrangements can be used depending on the purpose of the meeting. Of course, kita ada banyak meeting and depending on the type of meeting will determine the type, the seating arrangement. We have U shape, we have theater shape, we have L shape, depending. Because sometimes, normally we will be using U shape normally. Sometimes we are using theater type where there will be one speaker at the front and the rest will be listening from behind. So it depends on the objective of the meeting. Then we have facilities. A small meeting may require little number of facilities and vice versa for a big meeting. Of course, you have to consider dalam bilik meeting tu ada tak projector, podium, audience aid, pencil, papers. Trust me, mungkin korang rasa macam alah benda ni kecil je, tapi when you join the corporate world later on, this small thing is actually a big thing, right? And then we have invitations. As PR personnel, if let's say you are organizing the meeting, you have to send out invitations via email. And in the email itself, you have to indicate the RSVP whether that particular person akan datang ke tak datang. Because you know what? Bila tak ada RSVP, you cannot book the meeting room berapa orang. You cannot exactly know berapa banyak kita nak order makanan. So it's very important for you to have the RSVP in advance for you to proceed with other stages. Then kita ada registration. So if everyone knows everyone else, registration and identification can be highly informal. But if the group is large, it is customary to have a registration deck or table at the entrance of the room. Consider the following. If let's say you are organizing meeting which involve third party, of course kita tak kenal pun, alright? So that is why you have to have first greeting. A representative of the sponsoring organization should be at the entrance of the room. This is to ensure that everyone feels welcome. Sometimes kan, contohlah kalau you guys datang kat tempat tempat kita orang kat UIA, contoh UIA Pago, and kita ada orang jaga kat depan pintu like, okay, welcome sir, welcome to IIM Pago. Of course, we will feel welcome. Okay, it is very, very important. It is about hosting a great hospitality to everyone. Then we have name tags. I still remember when I first joined the organization for my internship, I had a name tag because normally kita akan address orang based on the name tag because sometimes bila kita tak sure nama orang tu, kita boleh tengok kat name tag orang tu. Alright? So it is a good idea for us to recognize the other person because it looks professional for the most of the setting. Takkan kita nak tanya orang, can I know your name please? Normally, we will take a look at the name tag because that is proper, more proper in the corporate context. Then we have program. At any meeting, the word program has two meanings. Okay, it is what goes on at the meeting, and it is also the printed listing of what goes on. It is also necessary to have speakers who will inform, persuade, or motivate the listeners. Okay, there are two major things under program. First one is what we call speakers. Okay, if let's say you are inviting other people, it is very, very important for you to choose the right person for the right event based on their expertise, their crowd drawing capacity, and their speaking ability. And you have to understand that, attracting the right speaker will determine the success of the event. All right. If the speaker has agreed to come and join your event, you have to make sure that you furnish that particular speaker with necessary information. For example, the date, the time, the venue, because at least based on that particular information, the speakers could prepare for the meeting. Then we have meal. Again, the PR personnel will need to have an accurate count of people. It goes back to the RSVP which I've mentioned earlier, who will attend the meal, the meeting. Because sometimes kan, I do not know, mungkin lah kita punya mindset kalau kita pergi meeting kan, ya ada ke tak ada makanan, alright? So be sure to check the meal preferences by the audience. We go by the generic makanan, contohnya macam ayam, vegetables, which we have discussed in the previous chapter. Okay, now let's talk about convention. Okay, this is another part that PR personnel would enjoy the most, which is convention. Convention is a series of meetings usually spread over 2 or more days. Its purpose is to gather and exchange information, meet other people with similar interests, discuss and act on common problem. Normally when we talk about convention, kita akan ada exhibition. Because normally when involved 2 or 3 days, you have to open up a booth and showcase your product and services. So let's talk about how you want to organize convention, for example, because most of the organization, they will involve themselves in convention and later on exhibition. So let's take a look at the first strategy, which is timing. The time of the convention must be convenient for the people who are expected to attend. Avoid peak work periods. It is advisable to organize convention over the weekend or during public holiday. So when we talk about the concept of convention kan, orang ramai akan datang. Okay, janganlah buat pada hari bekerja because if let's say kita buat pada hari bekerja, it is a bit difficult for you to attract people to come to your convention because normally when we talk about convention, exhibition, it is open to everyone. Okay, so you may want to do it over the weekend or perhaps during public holidays. Then we have location. Okay, locations play a very important role in ensuring the success of the convention. Alright, many organizations rotate their conventions from one part of the state to another to equalize the travel burden. Okay, normally bila kita buat convention kan, okay, you have to take into consideration the location of the convention because sometimes orang luar datang KL jauh, so you have to find tempat yang like the focal point. For example, if let's say it involve the region of Perak and Melaka, you can do it in KL because from Perak and Melaka to KL is quite near. Alright. Another consideration for location is the availability of the accommodation. Of course, kalau korang perasan, most of the conventions, exhibitions, mostly held in Kuala Lumpur because you know what? Because banyak hotel untuk orang yang duduk. So if let's say tak ada accommodations, how do you expect the audience to stay and to enjoy your conventions or exhibitions? Because you have to understand that some of the audience bukan daripada KL, mungkin daripada yang luar. Then we have facilities. So facilities during the conventions are critical success factor. Be sure to check the audio, the projector, as it involves a large number of participants. Of course, when we talk about conventions, exhibitions di dalam dewan yang besar, in a very big hall. So when you are organizing an event in a big hall, it is very, very important for you to check the audio and the projector because it involves many audiences. All right. Then we have exhibits. So if the conventions have an exhibitions, be sure to find a large area for exhibitors to showcase their products and services to the audience. As what I've mentioned to you before this, when we talk about conventions, we will have exhibitions. So when you want to organize an exhibitions, you have to have a proper place for the exhibitors to showcase their product and services. Then we have program. A convention program is closely related to the theme. The chosen theme must be interesting and in line with the current issues. Of course, when we talk about having a convention, it has to be tied with the current issues because if let's say it is not tied to the current issues, how are you supposed to attract audience untuk datang? Okay, you have to do some sort of audience analysis, looking at their preferences, and also you have to jive that with our national current issue. Then last but not least, we have attendance. Getting people to attend conventions require two things, an appealing program and continuous effort to persuade members to attend. Announcement and invitations you have to send out perhaps 2 or 3 months prior to the convention because sometimes it is a big event. So when it's a big event, you have to constantly reminding the audience that, hey, there's a convention coming up. So you have to have that sort of like continuous effort to persuade people or to let the audience know that we have such event in future. And that's all for your chapter 9. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.